We're live. What's on the screen right now is Filthy Robot's tiers, but he didn't order the tiers within themselves. They're just in alphabetical order. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to start, I think we'll start at the top and we'll work our way down, and we'll try and get every civ in the right tier. And then we're going to go back and we're going to try and even get the order right. Yeah, I think we're mostly going to talk about it in the context of six-way free-for-all, Pangaeas. So how about we get started? All right, I look at S tier and there is a civ in there. In fact, there's two civs in there that stand out to me as just categorically not as good as the rest. Anyone want to guess which ones? Yeah. England is one of them for me, Chungle. I don't think England is of the same quality as almost any one of those. England's SimCity bonus is almost non-existent, right? The spy is nice, don't get me wrong, but it comes pretty late and it's generally fairly inconsequential, even if you are a autocracy with spy stealing. So crossbows and frigates, which is, what England's all about, are by definition situational. You never crossbow and frigate rush in the same game, maybe once in the history of Civ ever. So already 50% of the time you're not going to use one of their bonuses. And then how often do you frigate or crossbow rush? Like, I don't know, one game in two? Yeah, I think if we were talking about Fractal or Archipelago. So I'm going to bump them down one for now, and then we're going to see how we go. They might even go down a further one, but I just don't think England's in the same category. And the other one is Huns. So Huns is a little bit difficult because where I play and where most people play, Huns is banned, but I just don't think that you can consider the Huns bonuses to be, what was the definition? Consistent and game changing. So the revealed horses are nice on turn 0. In fact, it's very nice. The horse archer is broken, and it's broken every game. And the battering ram is also broken, particularly with a spearman, with a ruin upgrade from your warrior. But you just can't, again, they're mostly military bonuses, so you just can't think they're as good as a solid SimCity bonus. So I think Huns are just straight up at least one tier lower. Yeah, it is, but it's just not. Like if you compare that to the bonus of, say, I don't know, Russia, Aztec, Inca, like those SimCity bonuses are just way better than the Huns bonus. So I just don't think you can really put them in the same category. Now, you get the +1 production from pastures is base game. I mean, the horses are good all game. Just like the Russian production bonus is good all game. The extra 7 turns of production impacts all of it. Yeah, I don't want to spend too long on Huns, just because I don't think we actually... Yeah, that's right, Zamorak, they don't need horses. But they're also banned, so we don't actually have a lot of good data in terms of how good they are. It's only one tile, right? Guaranteed. One horse tile. You can have no other pastures. So I just don't think they're on the same level as something like Inca. I think they're probably higher up this list than they are right now, somewhere in here, but we'll worry about that later. I don't really think that you can put Huns in the same category as Babylon and Poland. Yeah, the biggest reason they're banned is just because of how RNG focused they are. Like Gandhi's Indian elephants are almost as unstoppable as horse archers, for example. Yeah, I agree, Chungle. I actually think Egypt it's either like here or like here. I think it is down a tier as well. Yeah, I think Persia's probably the next one that's pretty questionable. Maybe we will do the order within here first. I think both Persia and Egypt are kind of like either at the bottom of S tier or the top of A tier, I think. I think Ethiopia is S tier, but I don't think that it's at the top. I think it's something more like, let's put this here and put this here. It's something more like this. Yeah, I agree. Egypt, I think, is definitely better than Persia. Temple happiness is much more relevant. Bank happiness. And the Golden Age stuff can just be too situational. So I actually think there's a couple of ones that are in A tier that are a little bit questionable to not be in S tier here. Immortals are a great tribute unit, Zamorak. Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of, Puri. I think I understand where Filthy's coming from. Because of the Tundra bias, nah, I don't think you can put China in S tier. So because of the Tundra bias on Russia, I can understand why you want to put it in A tier. There's so much in Civ that is outside of your control, and there's so much RNG involved that I think the best way to win, and this isn't how I play particularly, it is how I see a lot of the very, very strong players play. They play to the extremes. So they play high variance civs, and when they get a good start, they win. And when they get a mediocre start, they quit, which is obviously not a great way to play the game. I much prefer to play every game for a win. But I think basically, if you get a good start as Russia, you win. And if you get a mediocre start as Russia, you're competitive. So I agree. I think Russia is S tier. I think it's actually a very correct strategy to deliberately choose and play high variance. And that's actually why I think Aztec might be S tier as well. Because if you get a good Aztec start, it is ridiculous. I'm sort of like, is Aztec here or is it here? I think it's very close. Yeah, I'm not sure how else you would define them though, Chungle. The other thing that I think is really good about Russia is I think production is the best bonus you can get in multiplayer. I think it's better than science. This Civ is better than that Civ, yeah. I think Russia's higher than Ethiopia, for example, and Korea for that matter. I don't like Korea anywhere near as much as Babylon. And that's why I put Inca so high, because Inca's food converts directly into production. I actually think, to be honest, that the top two are these two, Inca and Russia. Yeah, I think Korea is worse than Aztec too, I agree. Ethiopia is definitely better than Persia and Egypt. The Stele is busted, for sure. Yeah, faith is super important in vanilla. So we're pretty much done with S tier, I think. We'll argue over the order later, but I think these are all the S tier civs. I don't think I dislike any of these where they are. I think these are all pretty good at the moment. I think it's more the matter that there's a couple of B tiers that need to get bumped up rather than any of these need to get bumped down. Does anyone disagree? Nah, I think Greece is very strong, Zamorak. I don't think Greece could go. What is Greece's bias? Greece is coast. There's a lot of players that don't love coastal bias. I think coastal bias is better than inland, particularly in our current meta, with no great scientist saving. I think frigates are a non-issue in this meta. I think you pretty much don't need to worry about frigates. And that's the reason I used to hate coastal. Greece is just too good. Some games as Greece, you literally just get every single city-state as an ally for nothing. Just because you exist and you're Greece. It's just insane. Hoplites are a tribute unit, and tribute units are broken. They're extremely good. And CompCav are not amazing, but they're decent. I don't know. I don't play in the Russian server where there's a horseman meta, but I just don't think that you can. Greece is an extremely strong SimCity bonus with tribute. And tribute is the most broken mechanic in the game. Tribute is better than Salt. It's better than Turn 3 God King. It's probably not better than Fountain of Youth, but it's broken. But that'll do for now. I think we've got A tier pretty much locked up. So B tier, I can see at least two civs I want to bump up, like flat out, right? I think they're super obvious. Someone's already mentioned one of them. Yep, bingo. Well done, Zamorak. All right. I'm glad that was an easy one. Nah, Songhai's not on the same level. Yeah, that's right. Songhai is the unique temple with culture. It's decent, but it's just not good enough. And then the amphibious promotion and war canoe is just not relevant. Mendukala, is that how you say it? Am I saying that correctly? The knight replacement is decent, but not amazing. So they're solid. I think they're about where they should be. Hey, Sound of Rain, how are ya? So honestly, I think the best thing about Austria is the hill bias. I got to be honest, like hill bias is just busted. It is insane. It's so good. You pretty much always get really great settler tiles. It makes it really easy to rush Temple of Artemis, which offsets your production to food imbalance because you're on a hill bias, and then you get to deny temple from all the other players in the game. I think Austria is extremely strong. I get a much higher average. Yes, that's right, Zamorak. Hill bias does mean more mining luxes. I think Austria is insane. And then on top of that, you get pretty much 25 extra % great people, which is also just insane. Like, it's not Babylon level, but it's just so good. We can argue about where in A tier Austria goes. I've not played with Hussars much, but they seem decent. And then marriages are also very strong, right? Marriages are access to the coast in the late game when you need it. So if you're an inland empire and you need to buy a city-state, buy a missile cruiser, and buy a nuke, you can just do it. It's access to city-states without the cost of capturing them, which means that they're actually really strong cities, potentially. Early game, SimCity, it's just very strong. And then it's access for things like, the army's really strong. Definitely, there's definitely a strategy of purchasing a city-state and then using the units to kill people. Like, that's absolutely a thing. It's just very, very strong. The marriages are situational. Like, I don't think I've ever actually purchased a city-state for SimCity purposes. You can purchase a city-state next to a player and buy a nuke in it the same turn and shoot someone with it the turn after. Like, that's just insane in the late game. It's so unfair. It's quite expensive, Sigs. It's quite expensive. So it's hard to do. You sort of have to pick the city-states that you're going to ally and then tribute the rest. It becomes a lot of gold, like maybe 500 gold. Yeah, the nuke trick, Greg. Yeah, it is pretty cheesy, but Austria is just really good. And then the other one that we moved up, which I think is unquestionable, is Celts. So early faith, which gives you early God King, which is just very strong. And then a tribute unit. Tribute units are very strong. We've already talked about Persia, and we didn't really talk about Aztec, but one of the reasons Aztec is so strong is because they have a tribute unit. A 3 happiness building is just good. Like, yes, it's a little bit slow. Yes, it's a little bit late. But if you're low production, you go aesthetics 1, and it's just really, really good. I don't really think that that's too questionable that it was too low before. And then someone mentioned Siam. So I wanted to talk about Siam. Siam's an interesting one that's very relevant to what I call lobby texture. If you're a poker player, that term comes from hand texture. And what I mean by that is in a lobby of unequal skill level, right? So if you're stronger than the average player in the lobby, Siam is insane. And the reason for that is because typically weaker players do not prioritize city-state quests, including camp clears, highly enough. And what that means is that you can just get allied with, 5 or 6 city-states. And we talked about why that was so good on Greece. And it's just really good as Siam for obvious reasons. Double food, double culture. And what's the last one they get? Double happiness. I've not used their knights much personally. I just find knight pushes are generally a little bit slow. Food, culture, and faith. That's right. Sound of Rain. Thank you. Yeah. And all of those things are great. So culture, as we know, is the best city-state ally in the game. It's just so much culture and it's really, really strong. Faith equals great scientists purchasing in the late game, and that's just extremely, extremely strong. And then food is the weakest because without the Siam bonus, it's not really a lot of food. 1 food in your expands is really not great, even if you're kind of wide, even if you're like 5, 6, 7 cities. But when you double that bonus, and then if you can stack it, like 2 or 3 food allies is more than 2 or 3 times better than 1 food ally. And as Siam, that is just doubly true. Yeah. The knights are definitely very strong. And I would say that you do typically use them on defense more than you do on offense. Going a knight rush isn't really a thing. The tech cost is a lot higher than a crossbow rush. The gold cost is a lot higher. The production cost is a lot higher. And they're not like I wish I'd never told you that, Zamorak. I know you're going to do it to me one day. I'm going to be so careful around you with that. One other thing I just want to mention on Siam is there's a couple of civs here. Holy shit. Baba Yetu. Thank you very much for the raid, Baba. Guys, I'm sure you all know who Baba Yetu is. If you don't, where have you been living? Under a rock? We got one for that too, guys. Hey, Pie Lover, how are ya? Thank you so much, Baba. It means an awful lot. I really appreciate the support, man. It's awesome. All right, we're talking about Denmark. I don't love Zerkers personally, but I know they can be super strong. Don't get me wrong. There's 2 people in the chat right now who have killed me with Zerkers. Pelilkis and Boss have both killed me with Zerkers at one point. So maybe I should rate them more highly, but I don't like Zerker rushes primarily because they're super obvious. Because when you build warriors, your combat strength is just so high that you just show top demos too early for a really effective timing push. I like civs that get extra access and extra movement. So I like the fact that Denmark can throw its army in the ocean much more consistently than anyone else. Same with like Carthage. We will get to Carthage later, but the ability to have access to players and to move in the form of map control, I think is more important than people give it credit for. So I can kind of see Denmark being where it is, but I also just think they don't get any SimCity bonuses. The ski infantry is useless. I don't think I've ever seen a ski infantry be relevant. and the Viking Fury is good. That's what I was just talking about. Poor hero. I don't recall that game, Fury. And the no pillage cost is also quite strong. So I'm not sure. Maybe they're B tier. We'll see. We'll leave them there for now. They might go down, I think. Maybe not. All right, so C tier. I know that Puri wanted to jump in here. Go on. I'll give you the floor. Yeah, I agree, Zamarek. Denmark's definitely bottom of B tier if they're B tier. All right. There are 2 civs that I think are wrong in C tier. I think there are 2 civs that need to go up. And yes, the first one. Yeah, and the other one is Portugal, Zamarek. That's right. So let's talk about Sweden. We talked about Sweden a little bit earlier, but we'll talk about Sweden again. So if you go back and watch all of Filthy Robot's Brave New World games. So if you go back and watch Filthy Robot's Brave New World games, basically no one friends Sweden. Sweden, we got to give Puri his moment. Yeah, so I've watched all of Filthy's games as well, Sound of Rain, and basically no one will friend Sweden. Do you want to jump on, Puri? Do you want your moment in the limelight? You can have it. Speech. Jump in a voice channel on my server and I'll drag you into my streaming slot. Alright, no worries, man. That's too bad. Boss is not allowed on stream for TOS violations. And we're just going to leave that at that. That's the end of that. We're not going to talk about that anymore. Sweden, I'm going to try and finish what I was saying before. In the lobbies that I play, and personally it frustrates me. I hate it because as a player, I would personally never friend Sweden. But what usually happens is 1 or 2 weaker players will friend Sweden. Okay? Players that don't understand that it's bad and you shouldn't do it. And then 1 or 2 more players will get blackmailed. So the most common way to blackmail someone is to refuse to Lux trade with them unless they friend you as Sweden. And then what happens is the last player or the last couple of players, once 4 people have friended Sweden, it's not worth being the one player who holds out. It's better to friend at that point. And that's usually the point that I find myself in. I'll be like the 4th or the 5th player, and then I'm forced to friend them. And so the end result is that Sweden gets as many bloody great scientists as Babylon, which is just busted. They get more writers. They get more artists. They get more musicians, which they can then gift away for a massive amount of influence. They're just good. Like, if players wouldn't friend them, they would probably be right where they are. Pretty terrible. The 90 influence on musicians, even if you don't get musicians, is decent. You can also gift profits, so you can spread 3 times and then gift the profit. That's a solid strat. Occasionally, you'll be in the position that you can gift great generals, although that's rarer. Are there any other great people that you tend to gift, Puri? I don't think so. I think they're the main 2.5. Super late game, you can gift just everything. Like once you've got stealth, if you don't need bunkers and you don't need space tech, you can just gift literally everything. But I don't think there are any others that you really gift. Yeah, you can gift. You can gift profits after spreading, Greg. It's really strong. So yeah, I guess you could gift a very early rider when it's not bobbing for a lot if you don't want to save it for, like 50, 60 turns. I don't think you could ever gift an artist. The production's just too important. And the gold. Production, culture, and gold. I think that's just too good. All right. So the question is, where do they go? I'll be honest. I think they may be A tier. Hey, Nizef, thanks for coming and checking out the stream, man. Appreciate you coming over from the YouTube. I don't know that they're A tier. I don't think... All right, let's have a look. We're not doing the filthy robot thing, okay? We're not defining the tiers. We're just literally going best to worst. So Sweden, for example, is better than Spain, better than Huns, better than... I think it's better than like all of these. I don't know if Sweden's better than Greece, say. I think Sweden's at least here. All right? It's at least halfway up A tier. I think these civs above it are where you start to question. Oh, maybe not Shoshone, actually. I take it back. Shoshone's very good as well. So one thing that people don't talk about is the other civs in the lobby. And Sweden's relevant to that. Despite how much influence Sweden has, I don't think Sweden generally competes with Greece for influence. So for example, if Greece is in the lobby, Sweden becomes worse. Another really, and Siam's a similar one. Siam becomes terrible when Greece is in the lobby. Like, actively bad. The other one that comes up with that a lot is Byzantium. And it depends on where Celts and Ethiopia are. Byzantium becomes awful if either of those civs are in the lobby. So there's a little bit of that too. It's like, I would rate Sweden much lower when Greece is around. So it's just something to keep in mind. In my experience in the lobbies that I'm playing, and I'm playing in the most active Civ 5 Brave New World multiplayer server. It's here if anyone's interested and they want to join. I think that policy's terrible in base game, Puri. We did the math on stream a while back when we were doing an observer game. We checked every single city-state science and calculated, what is it? Is it 25%? And it was terrible. It was like 100 science if you have all 12 allies. All 12. It's so bad. That policy is terrible. I'd love to pull that up and show you right now. But when we did the observer game, you get to jump into the city-states. You can see their science per turn. And is it 25%? I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think about it because it's so terrible. They make like 50 science per turn. So you get like 12 science each. So maybe it was 125 signs for all 12. That policy's a meme. We're talking about Sweden. In my experience, they get all their friends most of the time. Yeah, 25%. It just doesn't work. Do you mean that their science is also slow, right? Because they don't prioritize their science buildings. Is that what you're trying to say, Zamarak? And also they get the science building techs, third, essentially. City-states can never be tech leaders. They get the tech once 2 players have it. So at best, they're building their buildings third. AIs also don't change their queue order. So once they start a building, they finish it no matter what. So if they're building, I don't know, what's a really bad building that's expensive? If they're building a windmill, say, when they get public school tech, they won't build it for like 8-10 turns. So yeah, we're going to come back and we're going to order these, but I think Sweden is up here somewhere. And then the other one that is definitely too low is Portugal. So I've only played with nows. All right, we're going to move on. We've talked about Sweden for... You're happy, Fury? You got your Civ in the limelight for 20 minutes. Got to stand on your soapbox. I'm glad. And I'll be honest, Piri, I think that if you did not advocate for the Civ as much as you do, I would have been a bit of a sleeper on it. I deliberately picked it a few times after I saw you jump up and down about how good it is, and I think you're right. I think it is just that good. I think they're better. I think it's better than all of these war civs. All of these situational war civs. I think it's just better than them. I'm curious why you keep talking about Tundra Bias being good, Puri. Is it because you like isolation? Yeah, isolation. Yeah, I thought that might be why. The problem is even if your capital's a million miles away from someone, you're going to have to expand towards them. Hey, a miracle. How are ya? Jeez, mate, it must be, 3 a.m. for you? You're all keen. I appreciate you coming out, mate. That's dedication. 2 a.m. Yeah, bugger that. I used to stream the EU slot, and I'd start at 9 p.m. local, and the latest game I had finished was 7 a.m. local. I don't do it anymore. It was not good for me. So I feel bad for my EU viewers. Like Rafi's another EU viewer, and I think it's even later for him, right? Are you BST, Rafi? Oh no, it's better for you. Okay, so that's not too bad. Yeah. Nah. So I appreciate you all coming and hanging out. I wish I hadn't told you about that, Puri. I regret it instantly. Sweden just got better for Puri. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I think it's a new thing to do, Puri. To be honest, like I explained before, the problem is that, do you know what, Zamorak? I have given out a lot of secrets. I did the leaning tower slingshot tech trick on stream the other day, and I was crying as I did it. I'm like, this is one of mine. I did this. I thought this up, and I use it, and it wins me games. And I like, here goes my trick. Now everyone's going to do it, and I don't have that edge anymore. It felt awful. And I'm not telling you all what it was. You weren't there live, so you don't get to know. That was the Austria game that we won. So A Miracle says, I really love Siam. Personally, I have so much playing with them. Yeah, you're going to have to go and dig out the VOD. I'm not telling you. It's mine. I'm keeping it. But it's to incentivize you to dig it out. I'm going to tell you something. You can get leaning 1 to 2 turns quicker. Which, in case anyone is unclear, that is completely insane and busted. Can we talk about Portugal? I want to talk about Portugal. Portugal is way too low. Portugal is... I've only done a now thing once, and it was just so good. 15,000 free gold. Free. It's not really free, but it's... Maria is bae. Well, the other Maria is also my bae. I love Austria even more than what it is. Austria is one of my personal favourite civs. I'm trying not to bring my own bias into this, but I really like Austria. So Portugal, at the cost of production, which you would typically spend on things that are pretty bad. So here's the things that you're going to spend your production on to build triremes to upgrade and nows. Markets in expanse, which make like no gold, and you're getting gold anyway, so that's just a non-issue. Banks, same thing, non-issue. Temples, maybe. Sometimes giving up your temples is really bad and it's really important, but some games it's not. Shrines as well, although shrines are so cheap in hammers that it's not really a big deal either way. And then hermitage buildings. And hermitage is like Grand Temple. Some games hermitage is really important and some games it's not. And when you're going to get like 15,000 gold... no, Rafi. So it's purely based on the distance between the tile that you use the promotion and the distance from your capital. So max distance on a Pangea map is the max amount of gold you can get from one now is like 265. So it's pretty achievable to get like 15,000 gold. And then if you go commerce and autocracy, your gold is what, 60% better if you get Big Ben as well. If you get all three, I think it's a 60% discount. So your 15,000 gold becomes effectively like, you know, what's that, 24,000 gold or something. They are just busted. So the question is where do they go? And I think they're kind of in a similar spot to Sweden. I'm not sure how many now it is. So what did I just say? I said the maximum you can get is like 250 gold. So it's a lot of now. Don't get me wrong. So that's 60 now. And you also need to pay for the maintenance for the length of the game. 15,000 is like max. I'd say 10k is more realistic. 10k is pretty achievable. So I think let's work it on the base of yeah. I feel bad for PC. We're not going to talk about that one. The 10k, which is 16k with the triple modifiers, and that 16k will buy you like basically anything you want. a carrot, like say 2 carriers, a full stack of sortie promoted fighters for both of them, and enough gold to upgrade like 20 frigates. And you can upgrade your now into destroyers as well. They're not terrible. So my thought is that there's somewhere here, I reckon. I like China a lot. Maybe here. I'm going to put them here, and we're going to go back through and we're going to try and sort the tiers. But I think they're roughly somewhere here. And then what I want to do with these last few is I think some D ones need to come up. I don't think Polynesia is that bad. I don't know. These civs are all pretty bad. I think it gets pretty hard. You're really splitting hairs by the time you get to these. Fiatoras, is that how you say it? I'm not sure how you say that. I've never had to say that word out loud. Fiatoras? I'm not sure. In theory, multiplayer people should pillage them. In my experience, though, they really just don't. It's pretty tedious to go and find them and pillage them and keep them pillaged. Like, you have to spend a lot of time and effort and mental energy. Like, and then if you get into wars over them, like if people are actually, you know, not wars, but they're just like, they're planting like a unit on them, on the tile, right? And you can't just pillage it with a knight. You've actually got to send like a couple of units and kill a unit. They're not amazing, but they're not terrible. On the flip side of that, it's also quite hard for Portugal. Like, you can't really send a worker to the other side of the world to build them. Like, that just doesn't really happen. It's a nice idea in theory, but in practice, your worker's just going to get captured and deleted. Or worse yet, if you're a noob, you'll send a city-states worker and it'll get liberated, in which case you deserve it. Like, don't ever do that. So, yeah, I've not built a lot of them in multiplayer games. It's the gold. It's the gold that makes Portugal good. That much gold, you just win. You can literally buy 2 armies, build a third, and attack 3 players at once. Like, it's just insane. So, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you should, but you can, absolutely. I think that's a really important thing. I think the way that Filthy Robot talks about the civs in his tier list video, he assumes perfect play out of his opponents. And there's 2 reasons why I don't think that's correct. A, your average player is not as good as Filthy Robot, right? Just straight up. And the other one that affects everyone, including Filthy, is the fact that it's a time-controlled game. So you run out of time on your turn. I don't think you have enough time to micro 4 workers and 4 units to build, to pillage Fiatoras and to build Fiatoras. Like, that's a good point, Kale. I've definitely spawned inland as Portugal, and at that point they're pretty bad. So maybe they do need to be a little bit lower. I just value SimCity bonuses a lot more than these war bonuses. We're going to come back to it. So we're trying to get everything in the correct tier, and then we're going to sort them. And I am still thinking about career. Someone mentioned career. Clueless. I think career is a bit overrated where it is right now. Yeah, I agree, Rain. I think definitely filthy one through tenacity. I think that's very true. I win a lot through tenacity as well. There's a lot of players that aren't as willing to play for as long or as consistently or as aggressively. Reputation's a hard one, Zamorak. Nah. Going armories and getting and cheesing logistics or whatever it's called on Sea Beggars is a meme, Kale. Arvius is very good, undoubtedly. I never watched as much Arvius as Filthy Robot. I enjoyed Filthy Robot as a content creator more than I enjoy Arvius. So I can't really speak to who was the OG, the GOAT. But definitely I think Arvius is an extremely good war player, incredibly solid, and a very, very good SimCity player. So I think he is definitely up there. We shouldn't say that with a Baba Yedu raid. All the Baba Yedu fans in chat. I never had an opportunity to watch Baba before Lek either, so I can't really speak. Obviously Baba and... Yeah, alright. So I think Poly's in here somewhere. I find these really hard. I wouldn't say that polders are that good, but they are definitely good. I'm happy with these three. I think Ottomans are pretty terrible. I don't think they really have anything that's really redeeming about them at all. They're just bad. They're good at frigate rushes, that's it. And frigate rushes in our current meta are just pretty bad. Japan, I like the 0. Where's Japan? There's Japan. A unit that doesn't expend oil is really strong. This is super not impactful. It's a difference of like 5 to 10 damage. It's not good. And I don't even know that... Oh, sorry, is it not on screen? Thanks. No worries, Rafi. I'm not looking at the exact same thing you guys are. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, this thing is just not good. The culture from fishing boats is okay, but it's just not enough to be impactful. The samurai is terrible. The only good thing is zeros. 0 rocket arty pushes can be a real thing. And I don't know that it's all that amazing though. It's a bit of a meme more than anything. Like, it's decent, but it's a bit of a meme. The good thing is just the no oil. So they're pretty low. France is pretty bad. Like, Is it French? Yeah, it is French. This is not Brave New World. This isn't even updated. It's just silly. Let's look here. Napoleon. All right, so this is literally irrelevant. Even when you do tourism, theming bonuses are not relevant. So they're just bad, straight up. Musketeers are strong, but muskets are bad. And chateaus are just bad. Yeah, they're just bad. I think they're worse than all right, well, there's one thing we can do. For example, I think France is worse than Japan. I think Japan's bonuses are more relevant. Netherlands. I guess we'll use... We'll use this, considering we've just realized that what's his name? William W. down the bottom. So someone said that the happiness bonus is not relevant in multiplayer. I don't think that's true. You 1-for-1 deal for King's Days and City State quests a lot, which means you just straight up get 2 happiness out of that no one else does. I think it's not amazing, but it's decent. You'll also, sometimes you'll trade. Yeah, it's not amazing, but I think it's decent. Polders, if you get them, are strong. You can get economics pretty early if you enter Renaissance through leaning tech and go immediately for factories. It can come at like turn 105 or so. So 105 to 110 maybe. Something like that. And they become very good tiles at that point. +3 food is obviously busted. Stacks with civil service. It's just pretty good. Sea beggars are a meme. Sea beggars are a meme. It's funny and it's fun, but it's a meme. It's 100% a meme. You're just better off going frigates. You can't go armories into galleass into sea, not galleass, triremes into sea beggars. It's just a meme. So, on the balance of all of that, where do I put them? I think I think whether you put them, I kind of want to do this. I actually kind of want to put all of this in here. I think these are worse than these. So I kind of want to put these all in the same category. And we can come back and argue about the order here. But Venice is not for multiplayer. Geez, Iroquois. Palocus is going to be pretty grumpy with me. So there's a couple of players in the multiplayer server that deliberately pick Iroquois. And they seem to do really well with them. They seem to get really good forest starts and just end up with a lot of production. I've tried it. It's not worked out for me. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was a pretty bad lobby. A miracle. I've watched that game. It wasn't a particularly strong lobby. Yeah, chops are very strong, but then you're Iroquois and you don't want to chop. Like, we play here. It's a Discord. You can also join my Discord if you're looking for people to play with. But the first link that's where we play primarily. And then if you're a serious Civ Brave New World multiplayer, direct message me. And there's some private servers. I mean, multiplayer players watch demos. I basically look at demos every turn. So I'm not sure that really applies. Sound and Rain. I was talking about why I don't particularly like Berserker rushes, because the demos are super obvious. And Mohawk Warriors would fall into the same sort of category. I think they're a very good unit. I've been playing them in some single player games recently, and they're actually very strong. They're kind of like Jaguars. On their forest jungle tiles, they're quite strong. But you don't get to pick and choose where the forest tiles are. So, I don't know. We've got like 3 or 4 more civs in C to talk about. So Carthage. Yeah, just play some games, Taser. You'll get a reputation pretty quickly if you're a very strong player. And then, like I said, there's some private invite-only servers around where you can get lobbies they're very serious, very competitive. If you roll war, you'll get banned and stuff. Like, so definitely, I wouldn't be in a rush to get into them. Just the general lobbies are fun too. I play them like at least half the time. Why can't Iroquois pick order? Also, freedom is the default in multiplayer. It's better than order on average. So even if that's true, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Let's look at Carthage, hey? I feel Carthage is a difficult one as well. Yeah, freedom is very strong. Freedom is the default pick. Statue is broken. Universal suffrage is broken, and whatever the food policy is called is broken. And we'll get to Brazil soon. Yeah, that's right. But you pick freedom when you're gonna get statue. Like, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Order will get you futurism, tourism to death, unless you have very strong culture. Like, autocracy is your pick when you're behind. Freedom is your pick when you're ahead, and order is situational. I don't think I've ever used an African forest elephant, so I can't really comment on that. I have no idea how to say the trireme out loud. I'm not even going to try. But Filthy was right. A more expensive trireme is bad. Players scout with fishing boats these days. We've all learnt that it's just better to scout with your fishing boats. It's all about the movement. So, Free Harbors at the Wheel is decent. Messenger of the Gods is a meme in base game. Horsemen just aren't that great. Again, we're not playing in the Russian server meta where horsemen are better. And horsemen are better than they get credit for in the Western servers, but I still don't think they're amazing. Carthage is about access. It's about movement and map control. It's probably 80 to 90% of the time the mountain movement is just not relevant. And then the one time it is, it wins you the game. So where does that go? It's not super high. I'm not trying to suggest it is. But it's pretty bad. Yeah, so I guess it's about where it should be. Let's look at Morocco. Morocco's pretty terrible. Am I not spelling that right? Oh no, there it is. Yeah, there is a Russian server meta, Babo. Thanks for hanging out, man. I know it's super late for you. Appreciate you coming out. So the Russian server is more aggressive. It's just straight up more aggressive. Just realized this cable's in the shot. The other thing about... Yeah, that's right, Taser. Just give it a wait. As long as you got your 500 hours, you'll get in. So I think Western servers are sleeping on horsemen. I watch a bit of Russian Civ. No worries, a miracle. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Please keep up the feedback. I really appreciate your comments. They're really helpful. So I think there's one really big thing that Western people are sleeping on. And I think Pure is right. I think they're good on defense. But this is the one thing I think people really miss. Horsemen benefit from stables production. Hey, Big Nickus, how are ya? Hey, man. We're just talking about the Russian meta and horsemen and why they're better than I think we've given them credit for. So, a horseman with a barracks and an open promotion wrecks chariots, basically one-shots archers, does a lot of damage to comp bows. And on defense, when you can use your own roads, you can cycle them super effectively. They're very good. And I think the thing that people miss is that chariots don't benefit from the stables production, and horsemen do. And I think they're a unit that it's actually worth building a barracks for. Yeah, horsemen hit expos decently well. Absolutely. With a barracks. Without a barracks, they're not great. But with a barracks, they're pretty good. Yeah, so chariots do not benefit from stables production. So it's definitely super relevant. It's you do it with a mix, Nizif. I've not done it myself. I've watched a few Russian players do it on stream. But you'll get some comp bows, you'll get your city shot, and you'll get like 3-4 horsemen, and you'll cycle them in. And once you learn how to cycle, if you know how to use knights well, using horsemen is the same. And once you can cycle them, yep, yeah, it's a bit. So the particular stream that I'm thinking of, it was 12 gram, who did a a horseman defense. And he actually did it to me. I crossbow rushed 12 gram. Hang on, I'm just going to shout him out for you guys. And even against crossbows, there he is, guys. Horsemen hit super hard against spearmen. You soften them up, you hit them with like 1 to 2 comp bow shots, and then you cycle a horseman into them, or 2, and then you shoot them again and kill them. They're just pretty good, like straight up. So that's an argument for let's go here. They're terrible against pikes, but 12 combat strength with 15%. So 15's roughly going to make them 13 versus a spearman, which is 11 combat strength, I think. Yeah, 11 with 50% bonus. So 13 versus, you know, what is it? 15 and a half is pretty decent. It's just pretty reasonable. All right, let's talk about Morocco. We gotta work out where they're going. Nah, you don't build barracks for spearmen typically. So the reason that you can afford a barracks for a horseman is A, you don't particularly use the insta heals. They shouldn't die. You cycle them in and cycle them out and heal them up. And the second reason is that because you're getting the production bonus, the unit becomes better in terms of its production to value rate. So a barracks is more bearable. Like, you basically want to say you've got a stables in your capital, you build a barracks in your capital, and you build all your horsemen there, and then you build your comp bows and your expands. They're just pretty decent. Morocco. So desert bias is a coin flip. I think it's fine because desert folklore exists, and desert folklore is probably the best pantheon in the game, except maybe turn 0 God King. Not that you can get turn 0 God King. Turn 1 God King might be better than Desert Faith. But this is the most amount of faith you can get, for sure. It's just very, very good. Kabashes are pretty decent, actually. They're the real deal. They're pretty good. This is what makes Morocco pretty bad. This is just not very applicable. Golden culture for external trade routes is just not very good. You just don't get to send them early. And then late game, when you're sending external trade routes, the gold is just not a lot, and the culture is very, very little. And you're also giving your opponent gold, right? Which is bad in multiplayer. It doesn't matter in single player, but it's just really bad in multiplayer. So I think Morocco's lower than Netherlands. I think Morocco's probably lower than all of these. I think they're probably like here. Right, let's do Assyria. No, you don't generally send your trade routes to players. In general, it's generally internal early game and then city states late game. Very rarely you'll do it. Like, sometimes you'll just give up on the fact that you're going to get your trade route sacked for science if you're behind. or in a position where you're like, you've got a runaway player who's very strong and you've got two other players that are weaker and they're trying to catch up, they might trade with each other and tech different tech paths so they both get bonus science. And you can also spy on each other and then remove your counter spies the turn that you're going to spy steal. But that's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. And it feels a bit scummy too when you do it, to be honest. Like, it's not a very good feeling even. And by the point that you're doing it, it's usually just not enough. You still just end up losing. So avoid tundra is a good bias for Assyria. Royal Library is just terrible. It's just not relevant. Siege Tower is a decent unit, but it can be a bit of a win more unit. It's kind of nice against weak players. You can get like free capitals. Puri, who's in chat, was talking about a game where he basically built 1 siege tower and 4 archers and killed someone. Like, but against good players, siege towers aren't great. They know that they need blocker units versus siege towers. So they're just not amazing. So I think they're about where they need to be. Actually, I think they need to go down. Like somewhere here, probably. I think they're just pretty bad. I think you're really like, you're really splitting hairs on these weak civs. The capture tech bonus. Thank you for the follow, Taser. Appreciate the support. I've never had it be impactful. I've actually been, because I've been playing a bit of Lek when everyone gets that bonus in Lek. I've been wondering if there's maybe something you can do with it to deliberately benefit from it, but it seems pretty RNG based. So I'm not sure it's great. I think putting them potentially here is not even out of the question. Like, they're just pretty bad. We're going to talk about Brazil. So Brazil has a jungle bias, pretty much. We had a Brazil game recently where someone almost won tourism. Well, kind of almost. But it's just jungle. So Aztec get good bonuses and they get the RNG of a jungle bias. Whereas Brazil gets nothing. And half the time they get an awful jungle start and they lose on turn 0. It's just not relevant. The tourism doesn't apply to futurism, as Boss found out recently. Yeah, it's just not good. They're probably... Nah, there's just nothing I can say about them. They're definitely worse than here. They're definitely worse than here. Yeah, the biases aren't guaranteed. You can get basically a start anywhere. Even Venice, which has a super coastal bias, can spawn inland. The only good thing about Brazil is the Brazil would camp. And the culture's decent. It's a lot of culture. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I think Yeah, it is quicker to make Puri. That's a fair point. But really, you should just be building enough workers that's not really relevant. I think it's better than Morocco. Maybe. Nah, see, Desert Folklore is just too good. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty low. Yeah, I think you can pretty much make the argument here. I don't know. Is Morocco D as well then? We already talked about France. France is awful. Yeah, good old irrelevant musket tech. Let's have a look at Polynesia. I think Filthy was sleeping on Polynesia a little bit. Polynesia's certainly not amazing. And it's all about the Maori. The Maori warrior is not relevant at all. Embarking early is kind of nice. You can get some good scouting. You can settle some island cities on a very rare case that you've got an island that would otherwise require astronomy. The combat bonus is way too situational. Thank you. It's almost exclusively about the Maori. The culture is better than the food or the production you get from improving coastal tiles. Like, straight up, it just is. Like, I think Filthy Robot in his video talked about how the opportunity cost of the food in the hammers is just too high. But I don't think he's right. I've got some really awful games as Polynesia, and I've gone things like Liberty 1 into Explo 1 and still got good rationalism timing. And that's a lot of production. 4 per city plus 5%. It is a little bit of map control. Yep, I agree. Nizif, I think that is relevant. You can Gallius rush with Polynesia more easily than any other Civ. The scouting is map control in the early game. It's not amazing. I think it's probably right where it is. It's just not great either. All right. I think we've got everything in the right tier. Yeah, we play free-for-all Pangea strat balance. They're obviously way better in Fractal or Archipelago or even Continent. Not that anyone plays Continents. I think we've got every Civ in the right tier. I wonder if Korea's got to go lower. Like, I think Austria is better than Korea. Yeah, we can definitely discuss some B tier stuff. I think there's quite a few players that would say Byzantium's too high. And to them, I would say just make sure you don't pick it when Ethiopia or Celts is in the game. I personally don't like India a lot. I think grassland bias is really bad. I think if you get a low production start as India, you lose pretty much. I think Ellies are extremely strong. Thanks for that, Puri. Puri killed me with Ellies recently. But they're slow. Like, Puri didn't win that game. He was just too far behind as India. I thought you lost. Someone told me you lost. Oh, there you go. I'm shocked. I mean, it wasn't a very good lobby. Was there another strong player in the lobby apart from me? Yeah. So Germany, Nizef wants to talk about Germany. Let's talk about Germany. So Hansa, and if you're interested in Germany, guys, we're posting an over-explain game as Germany on the YouTube at the moment, and we picked Germany for our Civ. So if you're interested, definitely go check that out. We had a lot of fun. Me and Babalutha King did that together. It was really, really great. I'm so glad that we did that. Here you go. And here's Babalutha King. If you're interested in FPS in particular, definitely check out check him out as well. No worries, man. You're more than welcome. I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm looking forward to doing the next one. So we had a Germany game recently and we had a bad production start, and because we weren't even remotely close to game leader, we didn't get our trading with city states banned, and the production was great for us, but that's the subscription on YouTube, Taylor. Appreciate that. I've been trying to work out how to turn that off. It won't turn off, but anyway, appreciate this the subscription on YouTube. Obviously with a percentage modifier bonus, it's more relevant. It's better when you've got a very high production game, but that's when the city-state trading will get banned. So if you're in that sort of position, you have to go Forbidden Palace, and you have to try and get leaning tech first, so that you can stop it from happening. And then after the first or the second vote, you also need to make sure that you keep a reasonable number of allies. But if you're game leader, unless you've literally got control of the World Congress, it's just getting banned. Also, building banks is kind of bad. Banks in expands are usually not worth it. So if you build banks and then trading with city-states gets banned, you lose the production, the 40% late ban. Hang on. Sorry, that's my dog going nuts. I'm just going to go. Sorry, guys. Yeah. She's a good girl, but she barks at delivery people. All right. So we're talking about Germany. Sorry. So building banks is kind of bad. So what can happen is that you'll build banks in expands that are low production, that don't have a lot of gold, so they don't benefit from banks. And then trading with city-state gets banned, and you are super sad. So it's can be pretty risky. Apart from the Hansa, I mean, sometimes you've got more important things to ban, right? Like sometimes you've got a runaway salt player and you need to ban all of their luxuries. Like, I think if Germany is at all relevant, like if they're not last, I think you're right. But sometimes they are last, and sometimes you've got other things. So apart from that, I think that the camp bonus is also RNG based. So in that over-explain game that I just linked, we cleared 4 or 5 camps and we got 0 units, which is, I know, is a low chance of happening. But if you'd banked your game on getting some units and then you didn't, you're in trouble. If you don't bank your game on it. Yeah, so the camp RNG is just really annoying. The extra gold from camps is minuscule. The Songhai gold from camps is actually enough to be relevant, but the Germany one really isn't. And the unit maintenance you don't really feel either. It's nowhere near as good as the Zulu one. The Panzer is an extremely strong unit, but in the current meta that we're playing, land ships are better than tanks. Tanks are a real thing. Again, if you go back and watch Filthy Robot, if you go back and watch Filthy Robot's games, tanks are quite a bit worse. A, because of the rules in the meta, and B, because players hadn't got good at using tanks. So the thing with tanks is if you're good at tank micro, they're kind of like bombers in the fact that they don't take damage, because you just pillage. You take damage, you pillage, you take damage, you pillage, you take damage, you pillage. They're with the no zone of control policy, which I never saw happen in a Filthy Robot game. You basically pillage whatever you want. And you can also skip the hard to crack cities. You can just completely ignore them and just run straight past them. So tanks are, land ships in the current meta are a real thing. And in the previous meta with Great Scientists Saving, tanks were a real thing. So the Panzer is, it's in autocracy. Taser. Yeah, it's very strong. Here, we can pull it up quickly. Yeah, it can be a real thing. Where's the policy? Does anyone remember what it's called? Autocracy. Lightning warfare it's called. This one here. Free movement for generals. Yeah, good one. Now, Clausewitz is also very strong. Clausewitz is something you want to stack with lightning warfare. But this is very strong. This is a real thing. And then Clausewitz, if you can stack it with Clausewitz, this is extremely strong. And then you also want to stack it with the honor discipline policy and the Statue of Zeus policy. And you also want to try and stack it with, if you at all can, is with level 3 promotions for charge. If you can get all of those things as Germany with panzers, those units absolutely wreck. And then if you can get something like I had geez, what's the hill movement natural wonder? The name's slipping my mind. Kilimanjaro, thank you. Kilimanjaro panzers are so much fun. And they're good. They're actually good. So tanks is a thing. It's actually a thing. We don't ban Great Wall, no. Schmitsky, so thank you for joining us. We're not going to add any tiers. What we're actually doing, we've pretty much finished defining what the tiers, where the civs should sit in the tiers, and what we're actually going to start doing, I think we're basically at that point, is sort them. So I agree. Aztec is not Babylon, Poland level. But they're definitely up there. See, I don't actually think I don't think Korea's better than. I don't even know if Korea is better than Aztec. Their science is just nowhere near as impactful as Babylon's. They're good, but Aztec is very, very strong. And we were talking about. So I don't like to play this way personally. I like to play every game for a win. But I think because there's so much out of your control in a Civ 5 free-for-all, I think you want to play as high a variance as you can, because that means that the games that you win, and the games that you lose. Like I think middle of the road strategies are maybe good for extremely strong players like Arvius. I play in private servers where the quality of players is very high. Like I'm certainly above average player. And it's more achievable for me to win lobbies with an average start. But then the same thing applies in a lobby of equal skill. If someone rolls Aztec and they roll a great start, they just win. Like, we also don't have a lot of data when it comes to Korea. Korea gets banned. And I think that's just honestly, I think that's out of force habit. Or the fact that Korea is more consistent than Aztec and more consistent than Russia, say. Like, your science bonuses are basically going to be the same every game. Whereas if you let Russia and Aztec into the lobby, you're kind of just crossing your fingers and hoping they don't get a really strong start. And that's mostly based on their start biases. So because Russia has tundra and you can get some terrible starts, and because Aztec has jungle and you can get super low. Yep. Panzers are a real thing in multiplayer, like I said, Nizaf. They actually are. So, Mongolia. People want to talk about Mongolia. They are in B tier. They're right in the middle right now. I don't think Mongolia is that great. We're gonna try and order them literally best to worst. We're gonna try and sort this order in a set, Schmitsky. So we're gonna argue Civ to Civ. So we'll get there with Aztec. But yeah, Popper Hunt, yeah, exactly. Aztec is insane, or it has the potential to be insane. So Mongolia is, I think the biggest problem is they have literally zero SimCity bonus, like just none. Like there's no, you get nothing, right? The only thing you get is the bias. Plains bias is great. No denying it. But I'm not sure that really justifies anything about them. There are a lot of games where knights would be better than Keshiks. Or maybe not a lot of games, but there are definitely games where knights would be better than Keshiks. That's just a thing. Keshiks are very first move dependent, like people have mentioned. I think if you're Khan, who's like one of the best dual teamer war players ever, like Arvius level good, and he gets first move against pretty much everyone, I think he makes advantage of the extra movement on Keshiks much better than anyone else does. Yeah. And that's the other thing, Schmitsky, I agree, is Keshiks put a target on your back and you don't get any sort of way to offset that. Whereas Arabia, hey Tex, how are ya? Oi, oi, oi. Now you gotta, all right. Tex, we're gonna teach you some Australian, all right? Australia. You have to say Aussie, 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 and then you have to let me say the response back, which is oi, oi, oi. There you go. You just learned something. So I think, yeah. Oi, oi, oi. No worries, Nizef. I appreciate that. Thanks for the follow. And hopefully, guys, we'll make... I might do a supercut of this and edit it up and try and get it on the YouTube as well, if you do not get to see the whole thing and you have to come back. All right. So Mongolia, for example, I think is a bit... I think it's even a bit higher right now. I prefer these SimCity bonuses. I think it's more like somewhere here. I think Byzantium's a little bit higher. I think they're too RNG based. It's too easy to not be able to get a religion. I think I quite like the gardens on Indonesia. No worries, Kobati. I'm glad you made it, man. Yeah, we're doing really well. We're doing really well. So as long as my bloody dog, who's going off in the background, will calm down. I'll tell you what, guys. I'm going to go and grab her real quick. I'll just see if we can get her to be quiet. Wow. She's ruining my content and she won't let me farm... she won't let me farm views with cute dog. Anyway. Hopefully she'll be good now. So, Kobati, where we're at is we started with Filthy Robots tier list, and we're now in the process of sorting the tiers. So we're pretty happy with the tier of just about every civ. I think we're at the point we can start at the top again and we can try and sort them from best to worst. And I'm going to put something controversial out there. I think Inca is number one. I think Inca is better than Babylon or Poland. We'll come back to Sweden when we get there, Schmitsky. Okay, I'm going to start at the top now, guys. And we're going to work our way through and we're going to try and sort them. And we've talked about Sweden quite a bit and why we've given them a much higher rating than... what Filthy Robot did. Japan's terrible in base game techs. You get culture from fishing boats and you get fighters that don't cost oil. And that's basically it. And the only thing that really matters is the fighters that don't cost oil. All right. I'm surprised that more people didn't complain when I said, you know, you know what? Zero rocket arties is a thing, kind of. I like that joke. That's a good one. All right, so hill bonus is busted. Hill bonus. All right, we're going to this top. We're going to the top. We're going to start at the top. We're going to get... All right, we're jumping around a bit too much. So, Inca, number one, and no one said no, which I'm shocked by. I thought everyone would argue that Poland and Babylon at least are better. So I'm really glad that this is number one. There's very little in Lek that's educated base game. Like maybe the fact that chops are broken. I think we've learnt that from Lek as base game players. Well, I mean, we knew it already, but Lek just exemplifies how true that is. I don't know about Russia, Kobati. I was kind of thinking it, but Babylon and Poland are just so good. And Russia, Russia's just got that RNG factor. Russia's right up there. Russia being in A tier is wrong. The thing is what I think that people aren't understanding is that the best bonus in multiplayer is production. I'll say it again. The best bonus in multiplayer is production. Because production, science wins games, but science without production is useless. And what happens with Babylon in particular, and Poland, and Maya, and Korea, is that you get a target on your back. Now, the reason I think Babylon is so high is because they have good defensive bonuses as well. Babylonian walls are very strong and bowmen are great. So, and yeah, getting wonders is extremely important. People underestimate how important it is to deny wonders from other players. If you can deny 3 of the 4 food and production wonders, so Temple of Artemis, Hanging Gardens, Petra, and Colossus, if you can get like 3 of those 4, you've like nerfed everyone else's game. The thing that makes me think that Russia might be worse than Babylon and Poland is the bad tundra start. Is when you get the bad tundra start. Yeah, and that's true too. Denying all happiness is also extremely strong. Kobati, I agree. Hey, Kels, how are ya? Nah, Puri didn't have anything really to say about Austria. I love Austria. I think Austria is extremely strong, particularly in this meta. We're starting at the top now, guys. We're trying to sort them. So because all right, we've just gone through all that. We're starting at the top. We'll get back down to Siam, but quickly the reason is because good lobbies won't let you farm like 6 allies as Siam. That's why. Yeah, what's a very good as well. I'm not denying that, but like that would mean that, you know, approximately Songhai is on the same level. Like, and I don't think you can put Songhai any higher. But we're not talking about Siam right now. We're trying to argue the top 4. So Zamorak asked, what's the effect of no great scientist saving on Babylon? And I think it's actually, I think it probably helps Babylon. I don't know because I haven't played Babylon, but my thought is that early scientist comes so early you get to plant it. And then you probably generate one more scientist that gets you into factories, right? Which is really strong. Bulbing a single scientist into factories is really, really good. And then you basically want to bulb post public schools to get quick labs. And then once you've got labs, you want to bulb 8 turns after labs. So my thought is that Babylon may be even better in a no great scientist saving meta. That is my thought. I don't know that. I haven't tested it. It's theorizing, and I hate theorizing. You need practical real world application to know these things. But that's my thought on that question. I think these 3 are all pretty interchangeable. All right, let's talk about Maya. Is Maya better or worse than Russia? I think I personally prefer Russia. I think production is just too good. I think the faith is great. The science is great. I think, yeah, we're not. Yeah, we've got to, I don't know how that we talk about these in a vacuum, right? But I think an average tundra start, not a bad tundra start, but an average tundra start as Russia is better than like all of these sort of SimCity not god tier, but top tier civs. Even if you only get your strat resources, as long as your strat resources aren't on like flat tundra tiles, it's just so good and it comes so early. So I'm pretty alright with Russia Maya. Yeah, yep. No, I think Maya is better than Career. Kobati. I think Maya is better than Aztec too. And I think Aztec's another one that falls into the Russia category of you get RNG with Aztec. You can get some really awful 0 production starts as Aztec with jungle bias. So I kind of feel like I want to put Maya above Aztec for that reason. So I think that's pretty much it. And then Ethiopia, the stele is obviously very strong, but the stele doesn't get you a particularly good God King. Yeah, sorry guys. All right. I locked her away in the back room, so that should be the end of that. I think cookie cutter... Oh. I think cookie cutter builds are not necessarily a good way to approach the game. I don't think you should always do the same thing. I think your strategy is dictated predominantly by your land and secondly by your civ. So I think that's not a great argument. I think that's something Ethiopia can do, and it can do better than other civs. Career is too low. Yeah, and you absolutely need Oracle for that strategy, which is a risk. Going for a strategy that requires a specific wonder is risky. Because you have no idea what someone else has. Someone else might go Great Library into Oracle OCC. If you delay, you need a culture pantheon as well, I agree. But delaying your trad finisher is a big opportunity cost. It's significant. So career science is obviously good, but it's nowhere near on Babylon's level, and they have no real defensive bonuses. And I don't know. They put a target on your back. I don't know. I don't feel that strongly about career. I must admit, I've never really used... The other thing is that they're almost always banned, so I have very little data to go on. I think I've played one career game ever. But with no defensive bonuses, you're just putting a lot of targets on your back. I think you get like chariot rushed at least 50% of the time as career. No worries, Pebble Luther King. Thanks for hanging out, man. I mean, turtle ships aren't very relevant. I mean, they make you pretty immune to frigates, right? I believe. But frigates are bad in this meta. Frigates are bad. I've not seen someone win on frigates in No Great Scientist Saving. You cannot Oxford frigate tech, and yeah, I think frigates are really bad. I can see Korea being stronger than Ethiopia. No worries, man. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate the support. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Lib 3. So you're talking about worker, yeah. Lib 2 is settler. Lib 3 is worker as well. There's no way that's worth it, even with pyramids. At that point, you might as well go... Oh, okay. I would call Liberty 2 settler. Liberty 0 is opener to me. So like, I'm trying to keep my own personal bias out of this, but personally, I really enjoy playing with these 3 civs. In fact, these 4 civs. In fact, all of these civs right here. More than I enjoy the play style of career, because what Cal said is very true. You have to play defensively as career. And I like playing aggressively. I just do. And there's some very strong aggressive civs here. These 4 in particular. Yeah, so I think we're pretty close on this here. I don't think Austria is this high. I prefer Persia to Austria, and I think Austria is very good. It doesn't matter. We could have one tier because we're going to try and order them best to worst. I love Persia. Persia's my favorite civ. But I think you play very defensively, Cals. I think you undervalue aggression. I think you like to sit back on your Persia with your endless golden age and go freedom and go statue. Like the problem with Russia is that you could also put them like here. Production is I think production is why people are talking about Russia so much, Smitsky. You can't really kill Russia early. You can't kill Russia early. They have a fantastic snowball potential. Yeah, Cav is super important samurai control. I mean, I'm not sure how that's a relevant argument, Smitsky. Russia gets 2 hammers more than everyone else from like turn 15? 1 hammer more from turn 6 and an extra hammer from turn, I'm not sure, like 15 or so. It's just extremely strong. You get faster settlers. Yes. Settling, you can settle grassland horses when you have to. You can settle plains horses, they're amazing. You just snowball so hard on Russia. Quicker settlers, quicker workers, you get more wonders. You have enough. You can compete in science with, just about everyone except Babylon. And then you just get more production. Nah. Why would you rather play against Russia? I can see why you would want to play against Korea, but like, I hate playing against Korea because if they're on the opposite side of the map and people don't know what they're doing, they run away with the game. I hate that. That's why I banned Korea and Babylon. Because I hate playing against OP SimCity civs when they spawn on the opposite side of the map. It's an unenjoyable way of playing the game for me. Russia, you can make the same arguments, and obviously with Russia, you don't want to spawn next to them. Spawning next to them is the unpleasant part of Russia, right? That is the lesser of 2 evils to me. I agree, Cals. I really love, like I said, Persia's my favorite civ. Like, I love Persia for the movement bonus. It's just fun. Egypt, I love for war chariots, for wonder production, for temple happiness. I think, and these things are also super consistent, right? You just straight up get 8 happiness every game without fail. So I can understand why they want to put them in that sort of level. I don't think you've played enough No Great Scientist Saving to understand how strong Austria is. It's just ridiculous. Go and look at the last 10 recorded wins. Like 3 of them are Austria. Yeah, well, you've not played with them enough then. Hill bonus is busted. Like, yes, it's anecdotal. I understand that. I have a higher than average win rate on Austria, personally. Like, and I understand that's my personal bias. I personally like Austria and I find I win more on Austria. But I win more than you, Kels. I also win more when I don't listen to you. When you get in my chat and tell me to do dumb things like build artillery while I'm getting killed with bombers and fighters. Like, you really need an attitude adjustment, mate. Like, you have useful things. You have useful things to say. But the way that you present them and the way that you talk to people, you are just never going to get far in life. You should seriously go and read 10 Ways to Influence People. It would help you a lot in life. Yeah, just leave it there, mate. All right? You make it unpleasant for me. You make it unpleasant for other people. It's frustrating and disappointing. Like, moving on. Well, I think we're still talking about this sort of gap in here between here and here, roughly. Like, this argument's irrelevant. You can do this. It makes no difference to me. See to me that makes absolutely no difference. Like I said, I think using these definitions is detrimental. And I think that you're much better off thinking about them in a linear sense. Arabia better than China. Dunno. Arabia is one. I mean, they both put targets on your back. I think Chukunu can come quicker than camels, and as we saw with that Keshik rush from Boss recently, when you go for the super quick night tech, you're very fragile. You don't have a lot of gold. You don't have a lot of production. Yes, we can definitely. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we can put Portugal at least. Geez, they might even be here. So you pick Portugal more when you're the only coastal buyer Civ too. So how do you account for that? Being the only coastal players are extremely strong. Like, you never pick Portugal if England's in the game. Is another way of thinking about it. So does that make Portugal worse on average? Like, it's just not a... I'm not saying that you can't pick Portugal when there are... No, why are they better with more coastals? Being the only coastal player is extremely strong. Being the only coastal player is nuts. You don't have to think about or worry about frigates. You have... Yeah, but it doesn't matter whether people are coastal. Someone's borders will expand to coastal tiles. I don't think that's very relevant. I think you're pretty much not going to worry about that in terms of when you pick your Civ. You're going to get the tiles you need to expand to. I think with throwing workers in the water allowed, now it's not, or ironclads is just not that much of a thing. Like, I don't think you can kill multiple capitals with ironclads. Like, obviously you need frigates as well. I can see that, Puri. I can see camels being less counterable than Chukunu. Forts and pikes and knights, it's more realistic to hold against Chukunu than it is against camels. Camels is just almost impossible. Arabia, Siam and Mongolia are better than China or England. Siam. I don't think we're putting Siam way up here. No way. Nah, knight tech is too bad. If you go to war at knights, it's too easy for someone to tech muskets and go a rel in the process of defending. Like, it's only against a player that refuses to go muskets because they don't want to go irrelevant in terms of tech that you can really go knights. And knights are better on defense for cycling. If someone crossbows you and you're near to knights, like you've gone civil service, knights are extremely good. Like Khan's a great example of this. Khan's a player who likes to try and kill the world, and he's stalled against me so many times with knights. You know, I heard games where he's literally just got a circle of roads and forts around my empire, and he's trying to cycle knights in, and he's just too slow. It's just too easy to get to muskets. Yeah, China's definitely a viable Liberty Civ, but Liberty's just such a rare thing that I'm not sure that it's all that relevant. I think a lot of people get they watch all of Filthy's later games where Filthy went Liberty a lot. Even in base game he went Liberty a lot because he'd played so much tradition that he was bored of it, he's sick of it, he hated it even. So he forced Liberty a lot more than you should. Like, there's no way that you should pick Liberty as much as he was picking Liberty towards the end of Brave New World multiplayer and when they started developing NQ mod. So I just don't think that's relevant. You should be picking Liberty like one game in 20, one game in 50. Like, it's just not very often. And you even more often that is probably half the time that you pick Liberty, it turns into Liberty splash back into tradition anyway. Like, I don't feel that like there's a lot of talk left in it, to be honest, boys. I'm not seeing anything that's too egregious. I think I'd rate Siam higher than Rome. The production bonus in Rome it's good, but it's not amazing. And legions are decent, but SimCity bonuses are just so much better than the military unit bonuses. I think Germany's... And I feel like chat's slowing down, and that's telling me that we've sort of approached the point where we've really answered all the major questions. I'm not seeing anything else. I don't know about B here. Candies are very good. Non-freshwater gardens are very strong. But faith on gardens is not as good as like culture on temples or culture on universities. Like, I could see the culture on universities pushing Siam up a little here. I could see banning trading with city-states pushing Germany down a little here. I think the margins at this point get pretty thin between the relative picks. Anyone else got anything they want to contribute? Anything they feel that is just too egregious? I know there's probably some players that would push Byzantium down a lot. Yeah, I think America's a bit underrated. I think America's quite strong. The B-17's also pretty decent. I'm not sure how you would... I can also... It's very hard to weigh these sorts of things up at this point, I think. Like a lot of the decisions are more situational. You know, like Byzantium without a religion is D tier. Like they're terrible. Yeah. And I understand that's why Filthy Robot structured his tier list the way that he did. And I also understand that's why he didn't bother to try and order the tiers. I think that's a pretty challenging thing to do. And when none of us, and I do mean none of us, even maybe Baba Yetu, who's got 15,000 hours, have a big enough sample size to actually determine what the percentage chance of getting, say, no religion as Byzantium, or getting no allies as Siam, or getting, you know, trading with city-states banned as Germany. Like, you need 100 games with any given civ, and you're not going to have 4,300 games, really. Like, I think Filthy Robot got up to, well, they got up to like 150, 200 before they started playing modded, and he got up to like 600 or 700. Yeah, that's crazy, Pie Lover, 20k hours. That's insane. So if you can play 5,000 hours, I think that's where Filthy was around, and I think he had like 600-700 games. Like, you're just never going to get 4,300 games to be able to actually correctly assess them at that level. Yeah, you're right. He just knows everything, right? Yeah, except watermills. Yeah. There are some times when you don't want to build watermills. You really just can't afford the gold. But in general, watermills are great. I don't know what that's about. I really don't. I could see Polynesia being higher. I think Polynesia is very solid. Not a lot higher, but I mean, I think they could be like somewhere here, maybe below America. Yeah, Poly's fun too. Like, Poly's one of the civs you get to do unique things, and that's always fun, you know. So, I mean, all of these top tier civs you get to do unique things because they're just good. Celts, because you get to pick non-faith pantheons. Shoshone, you get to do ultra early combo rushes. Portugal, you get to do insane things with gold that no one else can do. Siam gets to do crazy things, and sometimes Byzantium gets a religion no one else can get. Any civ that gives you something that's unique that no one else can do is really fun. Yeah, Portugal's another Diplo one as well. One of the things you can spend that gold on is just allying every city-state. Portugal's probably the civ that can most realistically ally every civ. Every city-state, I mean. I don't love... There's a lot of people that, yeah, maybe... I wouldn't dump gold into city-states if Greece was in my game as Portugal. it's probably not worth it. Your gold's not going to go as far, right? It's going to spend less efficiently. But like realistically, I mean, if you go Greece and you go commerce and you get gold wonders, then you're still going to have a stack of gold. Yeah, I was actually just going to say, Schmitsky, I personally enjoy Celts more than Greece. And I've had some really unlucky games with Greece where I've just like not gotten a lot of allies and just, I don't know, sort of RNG'd. I also play with, there's one player in particular, if you're Greece, he kills all your scouts. Rome game some days ago showed how good the unique unit is. I've had a couple of Rome games recently. And I don't think any of them went very well. I'm not sure that any of them advocated for legions all that much. I can't remember which one you were talking to. I've played like 2 or 3 Rome games recently. And I've played against Rome. Rome game where Celts was 8 city liberty to my south. That was the game we artilleried the Liberty player. Is that the one? We weren't Rome that game. We were Siam. Was that the Rome game that we attacked Greece? Yeah, I think that was the game that we attacked Greece. That war didn't go well. It was never going to go well. It was desperation. I'm not recalling. I play a lot of Civ. Legions are very strong. I think they're fairly difficult to use well as well. And I think they're very strong against weak players who don't know that you need blocker units. People who build chariots versus legions are, you know, they haven't learnt yet. And the only way you learn is you get attacked by legions. Usually after the first time you learn that you don't build chariots, you need fortified spearmen on hills. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up there, guys. If no one else has got any other major things they want to contribute,